BMW hasn't done anything too drastic with the 5 Series styling, choosing simply to clean up the car's flanks, fit some new lights at the front and rear, and change the grille slightly. And the i5 really doesn't look all that different from the more conventionally powered versions that also populate the range. The overall result is a more minimalist, more modern design that's sure to stand the test of time, and offer customers all the style and intent they expect from a 5 Series. It's a good-looking car, and the decision to ensure the i5 doesn't look too different will doubtless play well with a multitude of buyers. While BMW may not have done too much to the 5 Series exterior, the company has certainly made changes to the cabin. The centerpiece is the curved display that houses the digital instrument cluster and the touchscreen, both of which are massive, clear, bright screens that are easy to read and offer plenty of configuration options. BMW has given them both the latest operating system 8.5 technology, too, making them even more intuitive and user-friendly. In a bid to clean up the 5 Series cabin, the central touchscreen has taken on responsibility for the car's climate control panel, with buttons largely eliminated from the dashboard. The BMW system is much better than most touchscreen executions, but it's still less ergonomic and intuitive than conventional switchgear. That said, BMW has retained the eDrive controller on the center console, which allows easier navigation of the screen while you're on the move. But perhaps the highlight of the operating system 8.5 is the option of the Air Console game system. As the name suggests, it effectively turns the car into a games console, with occupants controlling their avatar through their smartphones. The games aren't detailed RPGs like Red Dead Redemption, but Mario Kart-style racers in cartoon football games. They're good fun, and of course, they're only available when the car is stationary. If you're charging up, they're a good distraction. But whether you're on the move or not, you'll appreciate some of the materials in the i5's cabin. This is the first BMW to offer an all-vegan interior as standard, with a leather effect material that has finally made the grade. It all feels very plush, but we aren't completely sold on the i5's extensive use of glossy plastic, which feels a little bit cheap for a car that costs so much. There's no arguing with the way it's all bolted together, though. Inside the i5, space is bountiful, with those in the front getting ample elbow room and electrically adjustable seats that more or less ensure you can get comfortable no matter what shape or size you might be. Further back, the news is equally good, with enough legroom for rear seat passengers to sit in comfort and enough headroom for even very tall passengers to sit up normally. The only slight catch, therefore, is the boot space, which at 490 liters is hardly puny, but it is smaller than that of the Mercedes-Benz EQE. It's also smaller than that of the basic 520i petrol 5 Series, which offers a slightly more competitive 520-liter luggage space. Neat, that. If you do want more room, however, a touring, estate version of the 5 Series is expected next year. In essence, the i5 eDrive40's powertrain is very simple. With an 81.2 kWh lithium-ion battery under the floor and an electric motor driving the rear wheels, it essentially has one moving part. Yet somehow, it still produces an ample 340 horsepower that will take the saloon from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6 seconds flat before it lopes onto a top speed of 120 miles per hour. That should be more than quick enough for most customers. And because it's the least powerful i5, it can make the most of its battery capacity to provide an official range of up to 362 miles on a single charge. In the real world, that will probably work out at around 250 to 275 on a mixture of roads and perhaps a little less on the motorway, but it will be enough to cover most of your journeys without stopping to charge. If you do have to charge, though, the i5 is capable of filling up at speeds of up to 205 kilowatts, assuming you can find a public rapid charger that will give you that kind of power. If so, getting the battery from 10 to 80% should take around half an hour. If you're using a 7 kilowatts domestic home charger, you should be able to fill the battery overnight. In many ways, the eDrive40 drives exactly how those familiar with the 5 Series would expect from an electric 5 Series. It's quiet, it's well balanced, and it has enough about it to be fun on a good road. The steering feels a bit woolly in its least sporty setting, but knock it into sport and it firms up a bit, offering some precision and finesse that allows you to put the car exactly where you want it. You can't shrink such a big car, but BMW has done a pretty good job of making it manageable, and it feels more agile than its immense curb weight of well over 2 tons would suggest. The suspension must take some of the credit, too, because BMW has given the i5 great body control that limits roll in corners and ensures what movement there isn't too sudden or lurchy. The trade-off is quite an informative ride, which lets you know exactly what the wheels are doing at any given moment. It's great for driving quickly, when you want all that feedback, and it never feels remotely uncomfortable, but some drivers and passengers will prefer a waftier and more serene experience from their executive saloon. Most will also prefer a more dependable brake pedal. It isn't that the i5's brakes are bad or ineffective, they do a reasonable job of slowing such a big and heavy car from the speeds it can reach with ease, but they don't feel as positive as we'd like, with lots of pedal travel and an impression that they're giving their utmost to provide stopping power that's just about adequate. A little more effortlessness would have been nice. And then there's the buzzing. BMW has had to fit the i5 with a speed limit assistance feature that buzzes angrily when you exceed the speed limit. Obviously, to avoid it, you should just stick to the limit, but even that won't work. Because the car uses its cameras and mapping data to work out what the limit might be, it isn't always completely accurate, and you can find yourself on the wrong end of an unjustified electronic telling off. It happens all too often, and though you can turn it off, it will just come back on the next time you start the car. It drove us mad. The i5 eDrive40 starts at just over £74,000, which makes it noticeably more expensive than any of the petrol-powered 5 Series models so far announced. It's also around £5,000 more expensive than a Mercedes-Benz EQE, although the basic Mercedes is a much less well-specified vehicle. Compare apples with apples and the i5 works out a few grand cheaper. And it comes with plenty of equipment, including all the creature comforts you really need. 2-zone climate control, sports seats and the curved display are all thrown in as standard, along with wireless phone charging, big alloy wheels and LED headlights. The new 5 Series carries on where the old car left off, adding more tech and style without taking anything away from the outgoing model. As a result, it looks set to remain one of the key players in the executive saloon market. And while the electric i5 models won't be for everyone, they should play very well with company car buyers, and though this eDrive40 version may not be all the car they really want, it will be all the car most of those customers really need.